Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Vicki Howie of chakraboosters.com, the creator of Chakra Boosters Healing Tattoos. And today I'm super excited because we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, relationships in relation to the chakras. Now, a listener heard me on a podcast, the My Seven Chakras podcast. Her name is Allison, and she wrote to me and asked me to expound on some of the ideas that I had shared in that podcast. So I've actually got some notes today, and I was going to shoot it for you normally as I do with my camera, and I couldn't because the batteries wouldn't work. So here I am on my computer. I apologize for the quality if it isn't quite up to par, but I had to share this information with you. I'm really excited about talking about relationships because a lot has shifted in the last, well, especially the last 50, 60 years, and then again in 2012 when the energy shifted on the planet, when we moved, had the end of a Mayan calendar and moved into more of embodied feminine energies. So things have really been changing, and I want to talk about how our relationships are related to energy and how we can use chakra knowledge, use our chakras to make our relationships better. So are you with me? Here we go. So you might see me once in a while using the notes, which I don't usually, but I took some notes so I wouldn't forget anything. I want to make sure that I tell you everything that I've been thinking about in relation to relationships. Okay, so first let's just talk about everything you do in life is a relationship. Every single thing is a relationship, right? We have, first of all, us, then the thing, and then whatever the thing is. Let's say we have a job. We have a relationship with our job. There's you, there's your job, and then there's you with your job. That's a relationship. So every single thing you do in life, you have a relationship. But of course, your intimate romantic partnership is really, really important in your life. So we're going to focus on that mostly, but keep in mind that everything in life is a relationship. Everything that you have a relationship with, if there's you and something else or someone else, let's say a pet, you have a relationship with a pet, then you have a relationship together. So basically there's you, there's the other person in a relationship. That could be a thing out in the world, but right now we're going to talk about a person. So there's you, the other person, and then there's the us, right? So there's always three elements. And what we forget to look at is the us. And the us is very important because when you're just in the you and you're just in the other person, there's separation. It's in the us that we create a bridge that doesn't ask one person to be the whole bridge and come to the other person's side, but rather you find the common ground, the middle place between the two of you that actually creates the substance of your relationship. So this is similar in everything we do, we're combining. And when you have a significant other in your life, you very much have a destiny shift, or at least a change, right? If you're really coming into a partnership with all of yourself and your partner's coming in with all of him or herself, then you're both going to be affected by each other, and your combined destiny is different than your destinies would have been alone. So I wrote down here, I did 2 different videos about numerology life path, and it very much relates to this topic. So you might want to go look at my video on how to determine your destiny and how it relates to the chakras, or my video on what your birthday tells you about your life path. Both of those would be very informative for this particular video, and it will help you to figure out your life path and your partner's life path number if you don't know what that already is, and it will also help you understand how that life path number relates to the chakras, which then gives you an embodied way to actually work with it and to work with both of your energies, which is really, really cool. Okay, so when you have a destiny number, I'm a destiny 3, for instance, which means solar plexus fire energy, and my aura is always yellow, usually with a little green tone for the heart, right? Isn't that interesting? So my aura, actually, I just did it the other day at a store here in Sedona, Crystal Castle. I went on the machine, and sure enough, yellowish green. So my aura is actually true to my destiny. So maybe I'm very much in my destiny, I guess. And you have this number too, and your partner has a number. And when you put them together, it's this simple. If you add them together, so if I'm with a partner who has a 1 life path and I have a 3 life path, together we have a 4. So life paths look at the big picture and they're easily put together with mathematics. But day-to-day energy exchanges with your partner, personal chemistry, power struggles, or love dovetailing, all of that's happening on a more subtle chakra level. And I want to talk to you about how you can work with that here. And first of all, just understand it, because I don't think we have enough consciousness around it on the planet right now. And I think it's causing some problems. And I'm going to talk about that. But first, let's talk about how, sorry, I'll try not to bump the camera, I just hit it. Let's talk about how in the olden days, and let's just say, let's just go way back. Let's just say a couple hundred years, well before obviously the industrial age, we had much more, and even at the industrial age, so I could go back 100 and have quite a bit of change, but we had quite a division. And I'm going to talk mostly about what I know about the US, but much of it is true for the Western world. We had quite a bit of division between masculine and feminine energies in relationship. There was very clear roles defined for each gender. The women were more the relationship holders. They were the ones who were at the home. They were the homemakers, the children raisers. The women were the ones who dealt with relationship and fulfillment at home and making all that good. And the men were more the providers, and they went out and got things. They were the warriors. They were the protectors. They had more of that external masculine energy. Now, how does this relate to the chakras? Many of you know from watching my videos that first and foremost, now that we are in a more embodied age of the chakras, we have 6 chakras in the body. One up here, the crown, is off and is like an umbilical cord. It's really tying us into the all, God energy, right? Love consciousness. It's tying us into that. But in this body, we have 6 chakras up to the 3rd eye, which is the 6th chakra. 3 are masculine and 3 are feminine. The 3 masculine chakras are the root, the solar plexus in the middle, and the throat at the top. And they relate to the external world, and they contract. Literally, if you were to right now go really engage your abdominal, which is your solar plexus, you would feel it contract. And I also have a video on that. I didn't write down the title, but it has to do with why your masculine chakras contract. Okay, so you can look that one up. I'm sure you can search it and you'll find it, or I'll put a link down below. But basically, right now you could feel how if you did sit-ups, you would engage your solar plexus energy in an embodied form, and that would be contractive. The root chakra goes down in the earth, it's contractive. And even the throat, we have something in yoga called Jalandhara Bandha where we contract. The locks in yoga are in the 3 masculine chakras. The throat lock, the core lock, Uddiyana Bandha, Jalandhara Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, and the root, Muladhara Bandha, which just basically is the root lock, the core lock, and the throat lock. Okay? So those are the masculine chakras. The feminine chakras are about fulfillment. They're not about the external world. They're about the internal world and about your relationships with others and your relationship with yourself. So the feminine chakras are the relationship experts, okay? And particularly we have the sacral, which is about the intimate relationship and even creating a child, right? Because the child is born out of the womb of the sacral. Then we have the mother energy in the heart, and we have the wisdom energy and intuitive energy in the 3rd eye. So all of those are feminine energies. Can you feel that? They are expansive, not contractive. And they are dealing with relationships and inner world instead of outer world and success. So those are the 2. When we put these together, so we take the 3 masculine chakras and 3 feminine, let's say we live in all of them, which is what is happening on the planet right now. For the first time ever, on just an almost automatic basis, we're being invited energetically to be in our entire field so that we have all of our chakras and they're weaving. The actual meaning of the word tantra is weave. People think it means sex. It doesn't. It means weave. Tantra is about the fact that the duality of this world is really just unity, meaning everything is God, and when we bring it all together, it's all God. So there's nothing that is not God, and there's masculine and feminine pulsation on this 3D planet, such as like a plug going into a socket, right? You can just feel that, and that is the way that we create even more energy, right? When a plug goes into a socket, it's the masculine going into the feminine socket, and it creates even more energy. So as we learn to work with these masculine, feminine energies, we can feel the power of the God energy of the combination of these energies. And in a relationship, that is called polarity. And that is also, in a more old-fashioned term, called chemistry. So getting back to the olden days, I'm not a historian, you guys, and I don't even care about the exactness, so I hope that you don't need to bring that up. You win. If you know about history, you win. But just basically, we're saying the olden days, there was a time when men were doing particular roles that were more masculine oriented, women were doing roles that were more feminine oriented for the most part. I'm generalizing, but for the most part. And that created this relationship of polarity and chemistry. Now, we didn't have romance as much then. Often marriages were arranged, or you married the nearby families or whatever. So there wasn't quite the emphasis on romance as there is now, but we did have more natural polarity where masculine energy and feminine energy was so different. There was a natural pull. Like if I had two magnets right now and I take the opposite side of one, they would just suck together. But if I try to put them together on the positive side, it's like a battle. They push away, they push away, they push away. And we're in a hyper-masculine world right now. It became hyper-masculine, has become, but it's moving more toward the feminine. But it's still hyper-masculine. So what's happening is we're getting a lot of this in relationships. A lot of the backsides of, the two magnets repelling each other. And we don't want that because we're in the most conscious age of all, the age of awakening. So we can actually work with it. So we don't want our wholeness to limit us. We want our wholeness to allow us to still partake of the yumminess of polarity and complementary energy. So in the olden days, I like to say that we had kind of the Jerry Maguire thing of you complete me. Okay, so 200 years ago, if I was a housewife or something, I might not have gone to school, not have a job, any of that, right? I would just be the housewife, and I'd be very polarized in my feminine chakras. And my husband would be very polarized in his masculine chakras. And he would come home, and our energies would be attracted to that oppositeness, to those spheres being so separate, because that's how energy works. But something came along that made us begin to really shift this. Women's rights came, and in particular, that was really strong in the 60s. It began earlier in the industrial age, but we saw it get really strong in the 60s, and those women became mothers that raised sons who would then bend over backwards to not be old school men, so they became softer and more sensitive. So what happened was women were expected to educate themselves. They suddenly were expected to have a career, still to have a family, but they were expected to have all these new things, a career, make their own living, have an education. And all that created self-reliance, direction, and strong masculine energy. So from about 50, 60 years ago, women have been getting increasingly more masculine by nature in our society. Starting not too long after that, I would say give it another 20 years, so maybe 40 years ago or so, and especially in the last 20 years, it's been really strong. These more liberated women have raised generations of sons who are more sensitive. They're teaching them to not be in the old school masculine. So the men have become almost suspicious, and this is true. I mean, they're either acting out on an unconscious level, like we're seeing in the Me Too movement, on old school masculine, or they're super moving to the other side and being hypersensitive and respectful and almost negative towards some of their own masculine energy. And if yours is really balanced and you feel really good with all of it and you can access all of it, awesome. That's awesome. But I'm just talking about the general culture. Overall, right, guys, so that we can learn from this, we're seeing women being more masculinized in their energy. We're seeing men more feminized. What that does is allow both genders to be more whole, right? If half of your chakras are feminine and half are masculine, both genders have been becoming more whole as human beings in their bodies, because we're obviously whole as souls, but our bodies need us to actually live out these things and practice them in order for us to be more whole in our bodies. So we've moved toward more wholeness within ourselves, which has interestingly created more confusion in relationships because the natural chemistry hasn't been there as much. So what I see happening now is there needs to be, or there is, in a good relationship, there's no more you complete me per se, like I'm incomplete when you pull away from me, but rather you complement me. And I don't mean compliment with an I mean complement with an E. You match me well, right? So, but still, in complement, we still have that feeling of polarity. Can you feel that? That is what can be missing nowadays. So we need to take our relationships to a more conscious level. If we're going to work with being whole, more whole ourselves, we then need to learn how to turn on and off the polarity and be more fluid as we move through our own wholeness. For instance, I can be a woman who has lots of masculine strength, and I'm very strong in my root, my solar plexus, and my throat. But when I come home at the end of a day where I've used a lot of that masculine energy, say in my job and trying to reach certain goals or whatever. Hopefully I'm also bringing feminine into my job, but let's just say I'm more in that masculine get things done mode. When I come home to my husband or my partner, hopefully then I can actually consciously move more into my feminine being, because estrogen, the actual hormones of each gender, help to create more of that type of energy. I'm not quite sure, again, in same-sex relationships, I don't know exactly how it works, but I do see a lot of the same polarities because I have friends who are gay, who I love very much, and I see in their relationships the same kind of energetic polarities, and sometimes the need for more of that energetic polarity. So let's just assume for now whatever I'm saying applies to both, even if I use gender words, I apologize. And if you have an experience and you're gay and you want to share it, I would love that. Please share it. Okay, so what I'm talking about then is the value of being able to, because if you're a very masculine woman, now remember, you have a you and you have a he in a heterosexual relationship, the woman and the man, and men, you'd have you and then the woman, and then you have the us. And within the us, if you come in with a particularly strong, like a really, say many women now have a lot of masculine energy, especially at their work. If you come in at home and you bring in lots of masculine energy, it's almost like there's a masculine chakra in the us, the solar plexus, let's say, the warrior chakra, and you come in and you're fully plugged in and you're not in a surrendering place and you're not in a fun relational place, you're more in an independent driving place still. Well, if you get there first and you're really holding that space, that means that when your masculine partner shows up, and I'm just going to say he again, perhaps your masculine partner's feminine and you're feminine, it could be a gay relationship, but when your masculine partner shows up, then your masculine partner is going to come up against that already existing energy that you have. And it's almost like it's a push, like those two magnets that I told you about, instead of being a pull toward attraction, chemistry, magnetism. Can you feel that? So we want to be aware, are we in all of our chakras? Where are we weak and where are we strong? Like, ask yourself, take a test at eclecticenergies.com. It's a really good test. eclecticenergies.com. And it's interesting to find out if where you're weak, your partner might be strong. And you might actually ask your partner to back off at times, right? Back off. Let's say your partner's very root and you're not. And you want to be more root. but your partner takes care of that so much that you always get weaker and weaker in the root, right? It's like if you had weak legs and your partner carried you all the time, your partner's legs would get stronger and stronger, and your legs would just continue to get weaker and weaker. So you might want to ask your partner to actually be able to exercise that a little more. Like you might say, I know I'm not as good at organizing X, Y, or Z, but I really want to work on my root. So for a while, will you let me do that? And will you share with me how I could do it better? But you're coming from a place of actually doing it from a conscious place of asking for it. So there's no like resentment of your partner helping you with it. Can you feel that? So today what we want to do is we want to work on our own wholeness. We want to have an awareness of our weaknesses and our partner's weaknesses if possible. We usually know those actually without even a test. But sometimes we're projecting, right? It's our stuff from childhood, like our dad was a particular way, so we're judging and throwing things on our partner. So, or our mother was a particular way. So do try to get some neutral things through conversations and also through just neutral tests that can give you results. And both of you can look at each other's charts and you can overlay them and sort of say, well, what does this mean about us together? Wow, we have a whole lot of, and when both of you are really strong in the masculine chakras, that's where you get this. The knot chemistry. That's where you get the swords coming out. Woo, woo. So you want to be aware of that. So if you both take the test and you have some really strong masculine chakras, my advice is that you begin to talk about the dance that you can do. And that if you know that you are traditionally toward your own gender, and some of us aren't, like there's some women who actually only really want to live mostly in the masculine, and that's totally cool and totally fine. But Tony Robbins talks a lot about masculine and feminine, and I can't remember the numbers he gives, but he's seen a lot of people, and in general, we go more toward our hormones and our gender. So I, as a woman, am incredibly masculine energy, tons of it, but a lot of it is making up for childhood stuff. A lot of it is it's in my chart too, but also a lot of it is just was survival. So I really love to drop into my feminine. So this has become more of a skill for me to work with the energy of my partner and find out where I can come in. So here's our combined chakra of the warrior. Can I come in a lot softer, a lot more sacral energy, a lot more heart energy? Because when you do the feminine energies around a particular chakra, you give your partner space to do that. So like a woman, for instance, if you don't want to be in the combative and controlling and running things mode, right? Then you need to soften into the easygoing sacral and into the loving and accepting heart. And we often are afraid to go there after we run our business or do whatever, and then we think, oh no, my partner isn't going to be able to pull up the slack. And see, even that energy in itself is a continuation of the solar plexus. And it isn't until you're willing to really let go that your partner even has room to take up the slack. I know, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. But if you're both conscious and you're both working toward giving each other space to experience your full energy field, but also dancing. This is the key. Dancing with your partner, consciously dancing, so that you make sort of agreements that at different times you will allow different aspects to come out and go more true to your hormonal nature, go more true to your gender. So women finding places to mellow after you've been out in the world and done your masculine thing, and men finding ways to pick up that energy around your woman, because that will just spark more of the chemistry, right? Okay, so, and as you can see, so this could be really cool, but as you all know, it's much easier for a couple to sit next to each other and just be there next to each other, which is kind of what in history we've been doing, because we haven't been in each other's way, but now we're dancing and we're moving. And honestly, traditionally it works, like I said, again, gender-wise, if the man leads and the woman follows. So when you're doing your most intimate things, when you're home in your intimate time, it's usually better for the woman to practice opening her feminine chakras and for the man to practice opening his masculine chakras, which means contracting, because opening masculine chakras is contraction and action and physical presence. Can you feel that? We're going to create more wholeness, more polarity, and we're going to stop this dysfunctional thing of needing a partner to complete us. We're going to enjoy a partner complementing us. And you know what's so cool is it feels like completion. When you fall, when you're whole, you're no longer frightened. You're not frightened because you're not incomplete without the other. So you're not frightened that they're going to go away. It really could take intimacy to the next level when you have a good relationship with all of your own chakras, your masculine and your feminine. And then when you can literally choose to be fluid and move more into your masculine or move more into your feminine, depending on what your partnership needs, what your partner needs, and what both of you need at any given time. That fluidity gives you more chemistry. It will give you a sense of you complete me, even though you're complete. Each of you are complete. Isn't that cool? So that's it, guys. I am so excited to share this stuff because I really, really love it. Take a test with your partner at eclecticenergies.com, the chakra test. Check it out. Let me know what kind of things you see. Have a conscious conversation with your partner if you can, and find out, where do you feel, does each of you feel that maybe you need more space, or to be your own energy field, to be yourself. And it could go any which way, right? There's all kinds of different patterns in relationships, but as we start to talk about these things and we become more conscious, we're in the age of Aquarius, because this is stuff that wasn't even known about, and now we're working with it and talking about it and actually have teamwork on it. So that's super, super cool. So I hope to be doing more relationship stuff. If you have any questions about what I've covered here, please share them with me so that I can go even deeper into this juicy topic. And play with your partner a lot with this week and share with me what you learned there. And I will see you on the next video. Blessings.